So, as I said, I have just been speaking to the World Health Organization's Maria Van Kerkhove. What I began by asking was, here in the UK, we've got very low infection rates, the vaccine's going well. But as, Anushka's just pointed out, in the rest of the world, COVID is out of control. And what I really wanted to know is, can we be confident that we're safe and secure here if we're not combating what's going on outside the UK?
We have seen record numbers of cases being reported globally. More cases reported, 5.7 million cases reported last week, another 5.7 million cases reported the week before. This is not the situation we should be in 16 months into a pandemic. So as long as this virus is circulating at such high levels around the world, the UK population remains at risk. And we have a number of challenges that we're seeing right now. These virus variants are causing a lot of uncertainty in terms of what we know about how our public health and social measures will work, how long the vaccine and how protective the vaccines will be. So far, we know even of the 3 virus variants of concern that are circulating globally, the vaccines still work. But there may be a point in time where the virus changes enough. And this virus, it's natural evolution, viruses change. It may change enough that we will need to update our vaccines and have new second, third, fourth generation vaccines. So there are a lot of uncertainties ahead. And the big message is that none of us are safe until all of us are safe. So we need to do everything that we can to help not only our own people, our own friends and family, but everyone around the world, really focusing on those who are most vulnerable, those who are most at risk for infection.
So there is a sort of paradox for the UK. I mean, there's the sense here that we're getting things under control, but it sounds to me as though you're saying globally we're a really long way from the end of this crisis.
The pandemic is far from over. And so while in one country we are seeing transmission be reduced to such low levels, remember we were in similar situations last year. Even if you remember in Europe, transmission had been driven down to almost single digits across much of Europe. In the springtime, as societies were opening up, as people started going indoors again, mixing increased, transmission increased. We saw the introduction of the virus variant B117 that was first identified in the UK. That had increased transmissibility. We're seeing B117 circulate around the world. The virus can take off again. Vaccines and vaccine introduction is really, really critical, but it's one tool in many tools that we have. And we need the entire world to be able to control COVID. We have very positive signs around the world, that we can control COVID, including these virus variants, with public health and social measures, without the vaccine. But the addition of vaccine makes it that much, our control efforts that much stronger. But we need those vaccines distributed around the world. The inequity that we've seen with vaccine distribution is grotesque. Less than 1% of low-income countries have access to the vaccine. And that is a moral outrage around the world. And so we're not faulting those who have access to the vaccine, but we need more sharing of these doses through COVAX because we have a fair allocation process so that the vaccines can reach those who are most at need.
And just on that, British government is moving to a new phase of vaccines, boosters in the autumn. Are you saying we would actually do better, rather than thinking about our own second-generation vaccine needs, actually distributing vaccines to poorer countries, Africa and India, for example?
We need to think of both, because we need to think about if there is a need for boosters, what that means, because what is the body's immune response from vaccination? How long will that antibody response last? How protective is it against the virus variants that are circulating? We also need the vaccine production around the world to be increased. Those who have doses that can be shared. Once you've vaccinated your most at risk, those who are of older age, those who are your at-risk groups, there must be a way that all countries, and we are very, very grateful for the contributions of the UK. I do want to say that, and the US, and across Europe, and other countries, but there must be a way to continue vaccinating and protecting people in all countries, but sharing the doses with those who are most at risk.
Seeing what's happening in India, absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
Africa, we don't really have quite such reliable data, but how close are we to absolute tragedy in Africa?
Well, I mean, the countries that have done relatively well or fared better in this pandemic are countries that have a public health infrastructure. And the reason that they have that public health infrastructure is because they have experience with infectious diseases. Countries across Asia with experience with SARS and MERS and avian influenza. Countries in Africa that have experience with Ebola, with MERS, with meningitis. They have community systems that are built for surveillance, for case detection, for rapid response, for cluster investigation. I think the North has quite a lot to learn from countries in Africa in terms of epidemiology, public health.
We're almost out of time, Sally. A couple of very quick ones. There are people in the UK, including sort of former head of the security services, who are absolutely convinced that China manufactured this thing in a lab. That's not your view, is it?
We follow the science. So I'm an epidemiologist by trade, and I've been on a lot of missions in terms of understanding how viruses pass from animals to humans. All of the evidence suggests that this is a zoonotic virus, that it passed from animals to humans. What we're really trying to understand was what is the intermediate host? When did those spillover events happen? And you've seen the China report that's come out most recently. There's a lot of really, really detailed information in there, more clues to help us know what are the next studies that need to be done. Those need to be followed up. We follow the science, we follow the evidence, and we take that, where it leads us. But the public health importance of this is really to understand how and where, what are the susceptible animal populations to this, so that we can prevent this from happening again. There will be another one. We need to be in a much better position to rapidly detect and take those early actions so that these outbreaks do not become regional and global events.
And finally, and we're asking this of everybody who's been at the heart of this crisis, if you could revisit just one decision or statement you made over the past year or so, what would it be?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I've never thought I would be a forward-facing person in an event like this. So I have a lot of statements that I look at and I think, how could I have phrased that better? What I can say is I'm doing the best that I can. And in situations where I haven't spoken exactly the way that I want, I try to fix it. I try to correct it. I try to nuance it. And I try to explain. None of us are perfect. We could always be doing more. We could always be clearer. We can always be cleaner in our responses. But we get out there every single day. We come back for more and we answer those questions directly and openly and honestly. And we will continue to do so until this pandemic is over.
Maria Van Kerkhove, thank you so much. And I think that was a very useful message for many of our leaders. Thanks again.
Thank you very much.